Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Welcome to Investigative Fires Work Session. This was just a chance for us to get together and go over some things and keep on from there. We call this meeting to order per 192.610 to 192.690 and per ORS 192.650. Invocation will be by Gabriel.
Our Father, we first want to thank you for all the beautiful people of the Estacada Fire Department. We thank you for their zeal, their dedication, and that you go before them as they go out and come in. We humbly come before you to ask for your help right now as we deal with the businesses at hand. Help us to strive to work within the framework of our vision and mission statement to be responsible stewards of the material, equipment, resources, and funds and people allowed to us, to remember that we are there to serve the community. We ask for your wisdom in all of our discussions tonight. And we ask for all this, not in the name of some personal virtue or entitlement, but in the virtue, favor, and name of Jesus Christ, the ultimate fire chief in this place. Amen.
Merci beaucoup.
So, yeah.
Flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Director Silva. Here. Director McAdoo. Here. Present. Director Oliver.
Here.
Director Day.
Here.
And Director Miller is here. Let's see here. Business items, B1. Volunteer program presentation from BC Alto. Screen for response. I don't computer.
Minimize the.
All right. I just want to make it.
Just leave it in the background.
You cannot minimize it.
Can you remove it and keep it there?
There you go.
Do this number.
There you go.
So here's the support, volunteer firefighter support update. So right now, this is going to be a recap of not just the first recap I gave you was about 90 days in, just a little bit after that. This doesn't go all the way back to that, but it brings you up to current from what's going on. So right now our intern staffing is at 83%. We will be at 100% in June. We potentially may lose another intern depending on school or getting hired. So the problems that the problems we want to have, but our intern program continues to be staffed. Our tracking was a big issue for us. We had to continue to go back to ESO to try to get the information. Chief and I went to Seattle, we went to Texas, we brought ESO out here, and now we finally have the ability to pull the tracking information, which we didn't have before. I'll show you a sheet later on, but we're finally there. That was one of our original goals. Our support staffing. The goal is to increase it to 9. After we did our needs analysis, we realized that number one, we don't have enough in our support crew and our support team. We had to rebuild the program. We have a new guide to support it. We just went through an interview process. We have several candidates have made it through the board review. We'll be organizing that number, presenting them to the fire chief for interviews, and then giving out offers to fill our support crews. And so we expect to have a full support team here very soon. Events, the website has been updated to manage the 4th of July event. So as the different events come through our organization, we've been trying to mirror those activities with the website so everything stays current. We've been able to be successful at that, and that includes donations and checks and all the efforts going through from our volunteers. We went through EMS recertification this term for our EMPs, and 100% of our folks are in compliance. So every single person that is a member of the organization through this recycle or this recertification period has been recertified. That was also supported by not all of our members, but Lieutenant Hadid played a role in that.
A quick question, could you define support for me, exactly what that means?
Yeah, so a lot of times we've used the term here, fire corps in the past,
Okay.
so non-combat volunteers, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the term fire corps, it's just so you know, it originally came from the IAFC and it came through in the 1990s through a grant, a SAFER grant. And it was to help departments that wanted to have a, traditional fire auxiliary, or support staff, support teams. They had to give it a name and some formality because departments wanted to do it. They just didn't have a structure to give
Okay.
it. So they called it fire corps. Doesn't mean anything. It's really, now it's been referred to as support because more things fit under that umbrella. So I apologize for the verbiage. I know that would be different, but that's the intent.
So we have no longer fire corps, it is now support.
That'll be up to the fire chief when it officially change that, but it's the same thing. You can call it what we want. It's the same intent.
Have we lost some support volunteers?
Yes.
And
Yes,
we're
we
down
have.
to 3.
We are down to 3, yeah.
And are the chaplains considered support?
They're not under the support category. So if we did, then we could add more, but yeah, we still put them under operations.
You can just about put anybody who's not a combat firefighter into the support role, but we broke it out, so you have like EMS only, have chaplains, support, just a matter how you want to break it down.
It's more terminology than anything else. Yeah. So some training updates. Actually, I'll have 16 of them. We currently have a firefighter 1 academy underway. We have 4 members in that. And they're coming along extremely well. We just finished a firefighter 2 academy. We have completed all of our annual wildland training requirements. So those are all done for all of our firefighters. We created a seasonal firefighter training plan. So as you know, we brought on seasonal firefighters through the grant. Well, when they come on board, they are also given a training plan so they get up to speed. We're fortunate to have 2 firefighters that are also very up to speed because one of them was our volunteer lieutenant. Another was one of our shift interns. So they know the deal, but we still have a training program for them to make sure they're up to speed. Lieutenant Hadid had scheduled a life flight drill, so we're able to provide that as a standalone drill. This weekend, we have, it's called a flag drill, flammable liquids and gas. DPSST will be here to support that. That is going to be on Friday and Saturday, live fire on Saturday. Coming up, we have behavioral health in July with Tim Dietz. And we are also scheduling another burn to learn in our tower coming up at the end of the month for our firefighter 1 academy. We have implemented, since the last time we had that I presented, we have implemented what's called Fire Rescue 1. It's an online training and tracking program for our firefighters. This now allows us to create custom content for our folks. We now have over 60 Estacada Fire District specific SOGs that are in the system, which people can get training credit now for. We also have added things like the annual OSHA requirements for heat and stroke related illness, which would have previously taken up a drill night to sit in front of a PowerPoint. Now, our folks can go online, do it in their own time. They have plenty of time to do it. They can complete it on their own and they get the same exact credit for it. Additionally, we have our Fire Academy being run through that for the online classes. And all of our EMS recertification hours, in addition to classroom, can also be done on there through what's called CAPC certified classes. It's a big deal for our EMS responders. So if they miss an EMS drill or they have to make up some time, they can go on here and get certified legitimate classes and print them out as a certificate that count towards our Oregon State recertification hours. So this is a tremendous benefit for our volunteers and our staff. We have an updated training calendar and we're populating it now. So it's online, but we're also updating it with our day staffing, so our career staffing. So we're going to be building that out. So there's training. Well, every day there's training. It's just now it's going to be documented a little bit better. We have increased our tech rescue training with 7 additional training opportunities through Lieutenant Matheny. Those are going on right now. We just finished our Metro Area Wildland School. That's MOZ. We had, I want to say it was 4 or 5 people that attended, about that.
Also attended, it was excellent.
Yeah, so a really good turnout, and this allows our folks to be able to get certifications like engine bot certifications, which are difficult to do, but add a lot of value for our folks who are activated for conflagrations or being used here locally.
That's the one that was in Mulholland.
Yeah.
Week or so there.
Yeah. We've had Nick do more video editing for us. The reason why I put this on there is we are now creating our own Estacada Fire training videos. How to pour cross lays, how to take a hydrant, how to do the things the Estacada way. And they are being housed on Fire Rescue One. So our folks can not only have access to them on the computer, but while they're in the field, they can grab their phone, pull up the video, and remember how to do a certain particular task without having to ask or do it wrong. So we're continuing to build a catalog of those. The website training videos are now available there as well. So if you're going to Fire Rescue One and you want to watch videos for training, you can, or on the back end of our website, they're also live there. Oh, that's the repeat right here. And then we are also, I have a DPSST scheduled audit because we do our own training in-house. We also send people out for it. But because we're signing papers and we're acknowledging our folks are doing training, DPSST comes out, I want to say it's every 2 years or 3 years, Chief, every 2 years. And they come through to make sure that we're doing things right. I'm excited for it. I reached out to our rep to get on the books as soon as we can. That's coming up. Our entire training system is updated digitally and electronically. So every time we submit something, we have digital record of it. Every training certification, we have digital record of it. So this is going to expedite that process for them. This is just a couple of the recent certifications. These are just what firefighters have earned in May. If I was to go back all the way through our last presentation, I could add probably another 15, 16 slides and add a little more time to your evening, but I thought I'd keep it slower for you. But this is just some of the work our folks are doing. There's a lot of training going on and there's a lot of certifications going on and our folks are really working hard at it and I'm tremendously proud of them. You'll see a lot of these are firefighter too. That's a big step for our firefighters. That's a big add for our department, our district to add the skills. So I want to make sure that they got recognized for some of their work. Recruitment retention update, working with Chief Aldridge on support team, which we talked about already. Chief Aldridge and I came up with a plan for marketing, for applications, for interviewing and so forth. He's done a great job at it. And where we're at right now is creating the list, giving it to the fire chief for interviews. We have added something called stay interviews. It's not implemented yet, but stay interviews are an informal way of engaging our folks on a more frequent basis. You've seen the climate survey that I've sent out, right? Okay. The purpose of a stay interview is to catch those issues before they become into bigger things. And it doesn't have to be formal. The whole point of it is not to sit down and write someone down and go through it. The point of it is to have engaging conversations so you don't miss anybody. Next part is SAFER grant amendments. The SAFER grant, which you folks approved, we had an amendment done to it and the amendment was approved. The amendment does a couple things. One, for marketing, it only previously allowed us to use paper, paper materials. Now it allows us to use media. So it's just it's a technicality, but that's allowed us to have Nick do the photography, do the video. He's working on a recruitment video for us right now. That also allowed us to reallocate how we currently did our stipend for staffing. The stipend for staffing had some limitations. One, it only allowed us to do staffing for George Station. Number two, it had time lengths, which I believe started at 12 hours, if I'm not mistaken, Chief.
I think so.
Okay, so as this is a good thing, it also left a little bit of opportunity for people staffing here or staffing for shorter periods of time. We're looking for reasons and opportunities for our volunteers to get credit for whatever staffing that they are able to provide. This does that. This allows them to have staffing credit for here or for George for 1 hour increments. It's the same money. It's coming out of the same pot. Every year, we're allocated just under $20,000 in that pot for our volunteers. This last year, we spent $2,000. With the help from Nikki, she was able to go through, we did an audit, we're able to find that where those missing times were, and we're able to use as much of that money within the grant to get those folks compensated to use that money. So it's something I'm excited about. We've been able to have an application for it. The money's there. If we don't use it, it goes away. The last one is a new tracking system. So I mentioned earlier about ESO and our ability to track the activity of our volunteers. We had a lot of gaps in our game because the way we tracked it didn't show up in the reports that we tried to pull. This is not a lack of effort from us at SK, it's a lack of a functional programming software through ESO. So again, with the help of Nikki, she was able to identify the 3 or 4, I think it's 4 different ways we have to actually aggregate this data. But once we did, it's the first time we've been able to actually pull the data together and take a look every month at the activity of each volunteer to make sure they're meeting or exceeding the requirements of the organization. This way we know, are we meeting staffing needs? Are we meeting, are people making emergency runs? Are they coming to drills? Are they attending the right drills? We now have this capability. This sheet is just a snapshot of what the actual document is, but we can pull down and compare members to members, groups to groups, companies to companies, and take a look at everybody's through this sheet. So this is a big deal for us on our way to make sure we're supporting our folks and staying in touch with them. Somebody falls off the radar, if they have a month where they're busy and we don't see them, in the past, that could get overlooked. Well, that's also an indication that maybe somebody has some issues going on that we need to be there for them. We need to make sure we check in, make sure they're doing okay. This allows us to do that. And so I'm excited we got in place. I'm tremendously grateful for Nikki because this was an animal to get through. So thank you. I've set up a couple of performance indicators that I really want to try to hit with 75% goals. So I want to see a 75% call run increase. This is actually our volunteers getting into engines. We know they're already making calls. Just prior to the reports, we didn't have the ability to really see it. This will be able to tell us if we're seeing it. It'll tell us who's actually making the engines for calls. Staffing hours. We know people come down and staff, but the way that we record and the way that we're paying our volunteers didn't line up. And this again is through the ESO program. Now that we understand how that works, we've created a training system for our folks to understand how to accurately record their hours so we can pay them properly. Our goal is to get up to 5,000 plus verified staffing hours by volunteers. Our folks are already giving us the effort, but now we're going to have proof of it. The last part is a compliance goal. And so 75% of compliance in all categories. What all categories means to me is, are people making drill? Are people making staffing hours? And are people making calls? That's compliance. And this allows us to see that as a snapshot, and it's how I'm grading myself. It's how I'm holding myself accountable for that feedback to our folks. On a personal update, we had EFO, or actually I have an upcoming class with National Fire Academy. It's Executive Fire Officer offering. I'll be starting that in July. Finished the pre-course test. I have all the books read. I've already documented my first paper. Class starts July 8th and I'll finish it in 2024. For speaking arrangements, just spoke in Long Island, New York last weekend. I'll be speaking in Florida in November, Manhattan in February, Maryland in March, FDIC again in April of next year. And then just 2 weeks ago, I had an article published in Firefighter Nation magazine, Expectations and Accountability, and an article published in Fire Engineering magazine. It's called Survivorship Bias in the Fire Service. So these are the things that been going on with recruitment retention, things that are going on with training, and things that I've been doing personally. Anyone have any questions on that?
Glad to see it happen, that
Yeah.
we're getting this direction.
We're getting there.
What are you doing in your spare time?
I don't have it, John.
I know.
But that's what's been going on. It's been a lot, but it's part of we're getting there, right? It's progress, so. All right, well, I'll shrink this down.
You get a lot of that in place, so that makes those future lines.
Yeah, the systems in place matter. Having good tracking systems, having good training systems. And understanding how they work and then changing with them as they need to change, which we've had the support to do that all the way through. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
B2 strategic plan. I know we talked about this in the past. You have a couple other options.
Oh, I lost it.
Yeah.
It's been long enough, I can't remember what exactly we pursued before,
Okay.
and what put back. If it's something that you want to pursue again, then I can go out for it, do another RFP. I wouldn't use the same one because it's been too much.
Yeah. I personally feel that we really need to put this toward the top of the list to get done.
We're due.
We absolutely are due.
I think we're 3 years into our fire department now.
Yeah, and it was what, 10 years ago, the last one was done?
Yeah. But I think, and now that we've got 3 years under our belt,
Yeah, plus
Together.
it develops a great,
Yeah,
we know where we're going, everybody's on the same page.
I feel we should definitely make it a priority to get this nailed down in the next, say, 3 months. How long you want to put it out for RFP?
Should just be a matter of duplicating and sending out, so, yeah, we could easily do months, we could probably say we're gonna get started by fall, that would make sense. Get out of fire season.
Is there
Uh,
anybody more local than the last ones we looked at? And I just,
ESCI is as local as it gets, they're out of Wilson.
but those people that came, that spoke, Zoom and all that stuff, I mean, one guy was in Ohio, if I remember right.
Right, but the company is based out of Wilsonville.
Is there any way to get local people?
That's how they're gonna work. You're gonna have a collection of people that work for a company based here, in Ohio, wherever, and that's how it works.
Same company that we use lots of.
That was the company that did the Clackamas.
They probably do
Liability.
3/4 or more of all the fire department consulting work out there. There are other options, but,
They've been around long.
it's not for super. Founded by,
Yeah.
Can NDAO do it for us?
we already went down that road.
We were told
With our-
yes, but then told no, and so,
Couldn't remember.
so. I know we can't vote on anything or anything like that. I guess the next board meeting,
Next week.
yeah, we need to put it on the agenda that,
Agenda item.
yeah, that we need to move forward with that. So. So we'll kick that off to the next board meeting and hammer it down. B3, board guidance for fire chief. There's two things under here which Oliver brought up the board, or the bridge inventory. And then we got training facilities on there. So what were you thinking about the bridge inventory?
Well, when I was a lieutenant of Colton, they were pretty big on their bridges, the private bridges in their fire district and ensuring that the property owners were providing engineering for those bridges. And I don't remember ever hearing anything about bridges in the 30 years.
We did it.
That was back in 1965.
Before steel was invented, they were throwing logs in the creek.
So I mentioned it to the chief a while back and I'd like to understand what the liabilities are of us not doing the thing. And we put an engine in the river
Yeah,
and who's at fault? Whose fault is it? Or if we do make them do it, you know,
so what is
insurance
that?
companies looking at this.
What is the pathway forward to, if we were to take that on as to? You know,
We got some,
Yeah, so there's a new bridge out here on 211.
Yep.
They put a mobile home in. I commented for the county on that. My comments that went to the county was that he posts that bridge for the final and that didn't come through, right? But that's on, so, you know, like no parking sign, right? He has to post that bridge. That's on record in the county. Now, I can't do anything else, but it is on record that that was my comment to the county, that the engineer that stamped that and approved that at the county level, that was my comment back to the county. So, when I'm doing my plan review, that's my comment back to them, is that I get a copy of the third-party engineer stamped report for my files, that we send that and put that in ESO, right? That's our records. And then if the bridge gets posted, so that we'll know. Right. But I'm, right, but that's what's currently happening. As part of the plan review process, as part of the old stuff. We don't have any of the old records for what's happened.
We have to.
I think we're gonna have to locate and then they're gonna make contact with the homeowners.
Yeah.
so, I mean, it'd be nice if those bridges were posted with the weight limit also.
so we went down the path when I was in Fourth Grove when Joe was there. I said, I really didn't, but the department did it at the time. And so Joe and I were talking about it earlier and how we pursued that. So we could reach out, you know, to find out what the best way to do it was, but I seem to remember it was, you have to go to the communities or the occupant that lives on the other side of the bridge and say, hey, we need you to do this. But how do you put teeth in it? That's the hard.
Exactly.
But, yeah, it seems to me insurance companies would want to.
I mean,
But you have to know who the insurance company is also. That's more privileged, and we can't necessarily get into that.
you think if it was a permitted structure in the last 10 years, they would have had to permit a bridge. Yeah,
It's the stuff that goes even way back, that's a little.
Well, the ones that came to mind, for me, that's Hemlock Burn, 211, we got all those houses.
And some of the county records were destroyed in the floods and that kind of stuff too, so you can't go back so far. They don't have them.
Our
I've
policy
heard that
for
many
those
times and
bridges,
then something shows
the
up.
houses were electric.
Yeah.
So our instructions was land,
Yeah.
engine stays out on the highway.
It's,
I don't know if it's still that way, but that's what we set up.
that's convenient, that.
Yeah, there's other one.
3,000. the out.
Does anybody have an idea of how many bridges there are in our
I
district?
don't know.
Do an inventory.
It's private bridges, it's the only ones you have
Yeah,
to worry about.
That's what I'm, that's what I'm bringing this up.
Public roads are gonna be done by.
If we can't cross the bridge because we don't know the bridge will hold the engine, the insurance company gonna fault us for not putting the fire out. You know? That's-
It used to be, there's still 50,000 pound groups, it used to be, I don't,
Well,
in
the
1901.
roads are 75,000 GVW per code, or whatever the fire department standard is,
Yeah.
right?
Type one A, would be 22-ton.
44,000.
Water can.
So I know in Portland in Station 2 where I work, there was an old Rossi farm with an old 1918 original house for the farmland there. And they had a bridge going over a year-round creek and we tried to get them to certify it and this and that, and we finally came down to a level, I don't know if anything later on happened, but we came down that we'll just park it there and back stretch for 500 feet. You know what I mean? If it catches fire, but it's gonna be more of a surrounded ground by the time you get, you know, like a full first alarm, second alarm, just to stretch hose,
Yeah.
you know, so.
But that responsibility would be on the property, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then, you know, that's the deal, right? But I don't know if doing an ordinance gives us more ability. I think an ordinance is the tool that we would use to enforce it if we went down that avenue.
Yeah, you'll run into the challenge of trying to enforce it for.
Oh, I get that
the
part,
grandfather thing.
But as we go
I don't
further,
think we have to have an ordinance moving forward because fire code already applies to it, so if they have to meet plan review and whatnot, access and water supplies, things like that.
I think,
That
I
address.
think if we approach a private owner and he's had his bridge there for 40 years. we Ask them, you know, hey. We don't want to cross the bridge unless it's engineered. Are you okay with that?
That's what I did in the past,
You know? If you-
certify the mail.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, get a document from them saying that we're not gonna cross the bridge. If they don't want to engineer. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a way to do it, we're not the first.
Like
to look
insurance
at-
companies that have dealt with this or something.
Training facilities. What was you thinking there?
Oh,
You're talking paint.
yeah, you had mentioned something too about, you know, things are looking a little shabby across the street over there and what are we gonna do? Are we gonna make it look better? Are we gonna wait until we might have a fire station? Chief mentioned that location of that training facility is probably gonna be where it is even after.
Oh,
the
yeah,
fire station is
absolutely.
Built.
Yeah.
So do we upgrade that area? And then build around it?
What about just putting slats in the fence so you're not seeing all that junk out there from the road? Is that what you're talking about? Like,
Well, it's just, yeah,
The
the tall
condition
grass,
of our
the tall
grounds.
grass and the stuff
Yeah.
laying around. I mean, the curb appeal doesn't look very good across the street.
Yeah.
Aldo, what do you think? So you're the. What says that? Ask him what he thinks.
Well, actually, I approached him earlier and said, hey, this may come up, so we may. We've had a lot of discussion about just this.
Yeah.
I was drilling over that training ground and there's a lot that I'd love to do with it. Right now there's things that have timed out that need to be replaced on the training ground that just, the burn room, for example, it's way past its time. The floor in the search and rescue got a hole in it. And there's things in it we just can't use that would needs money. It needs to have investment into it. It needs new asphalt. There's really shady areas over there. I'm worried about people are gonna get injured. And to do new asphalt in there, you have to lift a lot of that stuff up. You have to move the containers out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely cleared out.
Yeah, so it's a big talk, it's a big investment. There are different training towers that you can get. I can tell you that to rebuild a training tower today is a couple million. And so the conversation to do that is a big capital conversation. So it would really come down to, we can get curb appeal. But I think I'd rather put money into making it so we can use it rather than making it look pretty. I mean, paint and some weeding will make it look good, but it won't be able to make us do anything more with it.
I'd like to see is do what we can for curb appeal for right now, but that's one thing I think we need to take a step further with our new firehouse. Is the integration of our training ground into that whole picture. Not saying that we're gonna spend $2 million on a new training deal, but we need to think, or whatever. We need to think exactly how that's gonna look with our new firehouse. We need to bring the two together. Right now, we've had it, that's just been over there and we've been on the firehouse side of it, so. I think we should probably have that discussion into that.
So, and I'm wondering if you absolutely have to have one that's burnt, that you do live fire with, because I'm sure Clackamas has one, we in Portland do. You could do an IGA with Portland and, take the live fire, because they maintain it, you know what I mean? And then maybe that could save some money too.
Logistically, it's real tough though,
I know.
because you're having to transport people out.
Yeah.
They don't wanna go to this place or that.
That,
I've played that game.
that training facility was very, very key for us in the restart.
That training facility is gonna be key too, if you wanna maintain your ISO.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, well, that brings me
We
to
got there with a grant.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is, it's off a grant, because you guys got it the same year that I got the one for Forest Grove.
Oh, okay.
And so I didn't go with that particular brand, but something real similar. And basically they have a 10-year lifespan, so it's 3 years past or something like that. So there's grant options to replace it. This one works because we continue to have Mike recertified on the engineering side, but it's definitely getting past its lifespan.
Is there anything structural that needs to be repaired? Welded, that kind of stuff?
The burn room would need some attention, and then the flooring in the search room would.
Okay.
And then, piggyback.
I know a guy.
Yeah, we have the resources, we can do it. I guess it would come down to the conversation of, what the best outcome would look like, the type of capital investment that the board would approve and the end outcome. I believe we desperately need it. It gets used a lot, and there's room to do changes on it, but,
Would it be worthwhile to pull everything off, re-asphalt, dig down and get a good footing, re-asphalt, put all that stuff back? And then someday get another mobile facility that we can replace that.
I think that's part for the horse.
And I don't know
I
the
think if
answer.
we're gonna re-asphalt, we need to do that at the same time we would build our new firehouse. Cause then we can integrate the two together. We wouldn't be saying, oh boy, I wish we would have done this then, or whatever. Well, when the picture gets clearer, I think is the words I'm looking for.
I think it does need a facelift. Like I drove by it the other day and our guys were out there and it was just like, I mean, it just looked kind of junk, it looked totally junky their grass was almost up to their knees inside there and there's a bunch of props out, which, I mean, we don't really have anywhere to put them, but I think simply putting some slats up, weeding a little better, getting a little better spray. If anybody wants spray recommendations or needs help, I know Miller and I know how to do this. I mean, we could spray this and grass in 20 minutes and kill all those dandelions. You guys don't have to mow it all summer. I think we owe it to our residents to do a little better job with our buildings and grounds, or just our grounds around here.
Public property though.
What's that?
You gotta kind of watch spraying on public property
Really?
and
You got what? Watch your spraying?
on public property, yeah.
Yeah. You do, but if you come down at night. You you have to have a private,
Right.
we have private applicators license. Do you have a private, Paul?
What's that?
Do you have a private?
No,
Applicators
when you
license?
spray herbicide, you don't need any of that stuff.
You do on public ground.
Oh, really? Well, I don't have
And
that.
that's, and I could check with our license that we have for, a commercial right of way applicator and see if we could potentially help out doing it, but.
Yes, I don't understand the weeds growing up on that. We need to get on that early in the spring, maybe March, April. That's when I like to spray, March, April, May.
Maybe it's
That
a
fall
budget
spray.
conversation where we hire. Next year, when we go through our budget, we allocate some funds out there to have some guy come get a public applicator's license, or maybe some landscaping crew come in a few times a year and do a mass overhaul. So it's dialed and probably wouldn't cost that much and help cheap out.
Fall spray is very, very beneficial also. So I heard that, we're looking for board guidance for the chief. We haven't really touched on anything with any teeth here, in my opinion. The one thing that, ISO came up. And I think what Alto is doing there with all that documenting and everything is pretty big. I would like to do anything and everything we can to get our ISO reading better. So if there was any guidance that I would have, the ISO reading covers so many different things. That would be the guidance that I feel that would be the best to give is if we said, hey, we would like to see our ISO rating to try and get it better. That covers
We're
our,
at a 3 right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we could get to a 2.
It's gonna be kind of tough.
Yeah, I'd be happy just for the next 5 years to stay at what we got,
Well, the
because
thing
it
is,
gets more expensive.
like with the
trying to get to a two.
ISO 9001 that I came from in the manufacturing world. The real philosophy was just continual improvement. It didn't have to be leaps and bounds, but it was some sort of continual improvement. You don't want to just rest on your heels, some sort of continuous improvement.
Wouldn't that be something we put in our strategic plan?
Yeah.
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 And then we use our strategic plan for the chief's guidance, like.
Yes.
That's his.
That's usually what's how that works out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, ISO is good for the fact that it's tangible, it's something this is how you get there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you're gonna have to spend money to get to a 2. Would we have to spend that much money? I don't know, without diving into it, so.
Well, that'd be a goal to look into and have that continual improvement and see what the investment dollar is to get to wherever and what that brings to our district.
The things that have Chief Alto doing in training, that's a big step in that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
Those are things that you can do to definitely improve your score. It'd be a challenge to get to a 2, but you could absolutely do it. A 1 is out of the question, we're not at that point, but.
On the seasonal firefighters, I know that you had on your agenda with them to sorts fittings on hydrants, but there was also draft site too, wasn't there? You guys gonna build into that?
No, so the seasonals, basically get the hydrant program.
Okay.
The hydrant program bought us points in our ISO review. which
Yeah.
Went a long ways.
Yeah.
But the draft sites actually have Lieutenant Nelson works on that. He maintains that list.
Okay, Brooke does, right, okay.
I follow up with him once a year and ask him if he's done anything's changed, and he's all about it.
I mean, are they accessible and whatnot? I mean,
So you have
they're,
to look into. So when we first did the restart, we had an existing list here somewhere and we were able to add to it. We actually added quite a bit to it, but we also had to take a number of them off because they just weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them got
So-
way overgrown,
yeah,
some were just seasonal stuff and dry out.
Well,
yeah,
there's one up across from Feldheimer. That the water's so dang low.
Yeah.
Weeks almost dry up. They get too shallow to put a draft.
well, anybody else, everything else to add?
I do,
But
and I've been talking this for multiple months, but. At the next meeting, and maybe nobody wants to entertain this, can we discuss changing the meeting date to Wednesday? Instead of Thursday?
I
And
can't make Wednesdays.
what's that?
I can't make Wednesdays. You can
Even
go
more
ahead.
reason to do it.
Tuesday. And my reason being, is we're making this, a lot of companies, corporates, the school districts, our business, the fire districts are going to more of a 4-10 shift. Let's take Nikki, for example. You know, she worked 40 hours already this week. It's at the end of her week. She wants to go on a camping trip with her family, and we're keeping her to till 8 o'clock on a Thursday night, the start of her weekend. You know, where she should hopefully be able to spend time with family, maybe be better if it was on a Tuesday or something. I'm just, I think Thursday in today's world, we might want to look at another day. I think it would
That
be
makes sense.
a benefit to our staff.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with that, then,
I'm
whatever
okay
works with you.
Tuesdays and Friday evenings, I generally have off. The rest of my week, day evenings are
So
tough.
what do you think, Tuesday?
I think Tuesday would be fine, and also, we get done, let's say we have a meeting on Tuesday, we address something with the chief. We want to be like, okay, hey, can you get back to us? He's back to work Wednesday at 7 AM, and I mean, he's on it, and they're fresh at the beginning of the week. I know on my Friday at 5, like, I'm checked out, I'm ready to be done. I think
You
we
wait till 5,
maybe,
you wait till 5 to check out?
yeah, I don't know, I just think it would be.
Let's be nice,
Better
Ken.
for our staff and our board, if we could at least discuss it at the next meeting.
It does conflict with the Tuesday night drill, but.
Oh,
Right, yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily have to be in this room that once a month. I mean, most of the time they're over there anyway.
you know.
I remember Friday, that 24-foot boat and the truck was sitting out there at 5 o'clock. I was in it and headed for Garibaldi.
What's that?
Oh, he would plan his weekends to get out of town like that, to go boating at the beach area.
Waiting to leave.
I go over lunchtime, look on the boat. Bring it over here, park it in front of the station. As soon as 5 o'clock comes, we didn't have a call or anything. I was heading for Garibaldi. Fish all weekend.
Well, I don't know. I
No,
don't know if the staff's open to that.
I'm getting
I just
off
think it would
track.
be a better.
What do you think about that, Nikki?
I mean, it would be great to not be here late on my Friday,
Fair.
but. if that's.
I mean, I'm good,
So it's on,
whatever.
it's on the agenda for next week's board meeting. We'll discuss it further.
And no one said anything.
Oh, yeah. You haven't, yeah, you haven't.
Being awfully selfish of them.
Yeah, always have a problem. Joking.
Well, does anybody else have anything? Chief, you have anything?
No, like I said, put on my calendar to bring it up that we need to do a mid-year
Yes,
January. would be
Yep.
Better.
Yeah. I agree.
And that's for the sake of whatever changes that we want to make or something we want to do for next year, we can financially plan for it.
Perfect example is what Matt brought to the table about the training center and some upgrades. Well, we'd be heading into our budget cycle and.
Well, even for that matter, strategic plan, we have budget for a strategic.
Yeah,
plan,
yeah.
So that's gonna be another thing. It's not that we can't make an adjustment,
Yeah,
but,
yeah,
we just have to do that. So.
yeah.
well, I understood one of the things that we were gonna talk about, when we decided to do a workshop. Is setting up direction for the fire chief, because when we hired the fire chief, we had no director. And he took off and started doing things he thought was right.
Yep.
Run into a lot of brick walls, a lot of hassle.
So that's where,
Strategic.
bringing that strategic plan and the goals of getting a better ISO is direction, unless you have something else in mind.
Well, I thought that was one of the plans tonight, so
Okay.
I made up notes and stuff just for the work on, but. Nobody wants to do it tonight, but I understood. That was one of the items. 78-260.
What's that?
ORS 478-260, I thought that was one of the items in discussed.
Okay,
When we originally set this meeting up, that was one of the things we talked about.
we'll let you take the lead. If you want to start the whole discussion on that, go ahead.
Well, I got some notes that we've discussed over time. I
Okay.
put them together. Can we make copies and pass them out or?
Copy machine.
I thought that's one of the things we did, well, they're done with it.
No.
Sure.
I do. For me to buy fireworks?
Help.
I'll send you your sponsored tickets.
That's true.
Oh,
We don't,
problems.
you need guns and that, yeah, problem, but that's. Yeah. I forgot I gave it to you.
Oh,
These ideas I put on here are items that we've talked about. Oh, so. These are all my, so wherever they go. Just be granted at the end of the day. These are no, just to start a discussion.
I think we should just kind of go through one by one. The first one that I see here, we resolved that in the contract.
Wait till John gets back.
Oh. Actually, do we really need to discuss all these? We could actually just give this to the chief, just as information. John said that, it was direct.
I don't know that I agree with both.
Well, I don't either.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that you're not like,
Notes that he's made, that he
Yes.
wants to share with us.
Yes, and this goes back, it looks like 3 years.
and I don't know if we hire him to manage the people, why does he need us to decide on who he hires?
Well, we can't decide who we hire, so. That's all civil service. Rule.
I thought we'd all just leave before he gets back. We still recording?
I've got a few, and so,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're gonna let you muck.
no, I'd let you start each one, and I'll do my 2 cents.
I do see with what Matt's doing as being a very, very good tool for that, with all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing ESL.
Oh, yeah,
It's a huge tool. It's a huge tool.
So, yeah, it's having an immediate impact.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's neat that he can finally run a report, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and capture the data.
Yeah.
Came and visited and sat there for like 40 minutes while he was explaining all the difficulty and how this doesn't match up with this and where he was trying to get to this. And it's like, that's a lot of work.
So, John, I think we're gonna go through these one at a time.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Like I say, these items are things that we've discussed over time.
Yeah. I mean, clearly these items go back 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the first item, upon being selected and moving and whatnot, we dealt with that in the contract. We just did, so we might as well just cross that off right now. That contract's done. See, not see, chief's contract.
But if you're gonna give the chief directions when he comes in,
Okay.
I don't know, should it be this along with the contract? I don't know, what's the majority think?
This document,
Yeah, when the new chief comes in and he's hired, or before, maybe before or during the interview, these are the things that the board is expecting, so that's what I'm thinking, I'm just, we're out here to throw this out, so.
is this a document for the future?
Well, something to this,
Or what, so when,
you can add to
is
it
this document talking about our fire chief right now?
now, yes, and into the future. But we've,
So why is this paragraph about him moving into the fire district in this
because that's in
this
it,
document? Because we're not doing that anymore.
yes,
With his contract,
it's in his contract.
we changed it. We changed.
Whenever you adopt it, that's when it would take an effect, so. That's just throwing out an opinion. These are notes that I brought that we talked about. And they're up for discussion. So whatever the majority decides.
Okay. Well, we don't agree with number one right off the bat. Solve that. The chief's contract.
Yeah, number one with his new contract, that has been resolved, so. As far as discussing it any further, I don't feel that we need to because it's in a contract already signed by us and by the chief.
So John, are you saying that if the chief, let's say the chief retires or moves on or whatever, that we're gonna go back to the 90-day thing with the next guy?
Well, I would assume so. There's it's in the contract now.
It's not in the contract.
I thought we voted that our chiefs will live within the fire district. And we allowed them to have a rental.
Yes, that's not.
Yes, it's like establish a residence with certain.
Like I
distance
say,
from
you
fire
guys take this and run with it. I explained at the last meeting my feelings about having a chief officer live in the district.
So this,
So whatever the majority decides, but I am very strong on that. It's the history of the fire district. And the fire chief has to have ownership in the district.
I think our fire chief has ownership of it.
Well, you don't have full ownership unless you own property. That's my opinion.
That's
So,
old school.
Like, well, things change. They don't have to change, but leaders change things. That's unnecessary. And where does the direction of the organization go? Sometimes it goes good, and the majority of the time it goes good. Sometimes it changes the environment unnecessarily.
I agree that we addressed number one as revised contract, and
Yeah,
we
I-
talked about it.
We already did.
There's no going back at this
We already
point.
did.
Yeah, that's a done deal. I mean, we put in there that, you know, he has to rent an apartment. So that's no, I mean, there's no going back on that. I think we have to move on to number two.
So. And I'm just wondering on number two, the intent, John. So it says that the combination fire district mostly of volunteer personnel supported by career firefighters, but they're all equal, so I think they're in a partnership and they support each other. No, it shouldn't just be a one-way street where the career people are here to serve the volunteers. I don't think that your intent, that's how I picked it up. And I just wondered if that could be reworded a different way where it's a partnership between career and volunteer, since they're equal, working together. You know what I mean?
I think the message here was make sure that we have a team and it's not divided volunteer career. And we have a team here. That was the intent here.
Then, yeah, I would just reword that, but I think hopefully it's going on right now, you know?
And like, again, like I say, these are things that we discussed in the last 3 years. So I put them up here just for discussion. Because when a new chief comes in, 5 years, 6, 10 years from now, we're getting ready to hire him, we're gonna hand him this, I probably won't be here. But this are things that would be expected of a fire chief. Like we discussed. When we started out here, we had no direction for the fire chief.
So
So,
to look at number two there.
so I wanted, these were just items that we discussed and we put out here, we discuss them now. Take them away, moderate them a little bit, whatever you wanna do.
Number two for me is, you know, with Alto, I mean, he brings a lot together with all this data to make sure that we have cohesion with our paid and our volunteers. So that to me is definitely on the right track. So I think that addresses any issues that is stated there.
And I agree with him, but we're looking into the
Yeah,
future.
no, I understand. Well, the nice thing is with the data that he's doing and backing everything up and everything being backed up on the server and whatnot, there is a roadmap for the future. You know, it's kind of like if you got something that works really, really good, you don't go changing a whole bunch of things, you know, you
I
kind
agree
of
with it.
make little tweaks here and there as necessary, but you don't go changing a whole bunch of stuff. So I found a lot about this, number three, the board requests that the chief take up to 90 days to familiarize himself with the culture of the fire district. The one thing that's a little out for me is that, and I've seen it in business, when a new person comes in that's in a position to have an effect on culture, I agree with you that there has to be time for them to look at what culture is there and whatnot, but I also realize that if that lead does not set the culture will set itself. And then he has to work harder to try and fix that culture that had been set. So when you have 90 days on there, there again, I think it's kind of little tweaks through that 90 days to get to where you need to be.
But it does say fire district on there, not fire department,
True.
so. which is-
And it's up to, it's not written in stone.
Yeah,
I guess, and you admit it, when you come into a new district, it takes about 90 days to get the feel for it
yeah.
and figure out what's working and what's not working. When you go out and meet with the community, the business partners, the government agencies.
We were in a more unique spot coming in here because there wasn't that set, because of the plaque and everything. So it was, we were setting that from day one. And so having to familiarize myself with the community was one thing, but the department was a whole nother because it was run and staffed by somebody else that wasn't even gonna be here. So we had, for the most part, brand new people in here and it was a different environment. It's not, it was very unique. I guess that's the way to put it.
It was pretty basically set up for somebody to come in and take
It
over.
really wasn't. It was not that easy. It was a struggle. There was too much that didn't exist, had been taken away, and I couldn't pick it up from before because I couldn't find it. So one example, we don't even have a supervising position, so we can run EMS call. We can't do this without this. Who'd you have before? It's just a struggle to find a lot of that stuff. So it wasn't as simple as picking up from what it was 18 months prior, because even at 18 months prior, you had Clackamas in here for I don't know how long prior to that even. I left today, went to another fire department. I'm gonna go into something that's already set. The pieces are there, and so I can pick that up, run with it for 90 days, 6 months, or a year, and then start tweaking it and turning it to whatever I feel. Versus here, it's been, here's the pieces and go. And so we built it with that. And came a long way in a short period, but
We have some really different. So again, I'm looking at this in the future.
Okay.
So
You're
somebody-
looking to have a document that we could hand potential
Yeah,
fire chiefs in
The
the
new
future
chief's
to
coming
say, here's
in
what our
and,
expectations are.
okay.
He's gonna bring in his environment he was in, but we would like to have him get to know this environment, because each community is different. So familiarize himself with that. It's just an idea, the things that we talked about that I threw out. So,
I don't think this is a bad thing either. I mean, and I appreciate the chief, on his weekly reports, he's like. Met with the city manager, went to a city
Yeah.
council meeting, or, participated in this community event, like, I think that's wonderful.
yeah, I agree with it.
Something that the chief's done, that hopefully we can continue down the road.
Yeah, and the always paying cash, I mean, we've been doing that. Fortunately, we got the Louis grant and whatnot, so.
And again, remember, we're looking into the future.
Yes,
So,
so,
and there might come a time in the future might not be able to pay, but.
so. I got a question though, and this goes back to history, so this is before my time. Interview committees for hiring all personnel and or volunteers should be made up to include at least one board member, one career firefighter, and one volunteer member. Is that the way that it used to be done?
No, this is one of the things that we talked about a year or so ago. I think you were in on that conversation, thinking about,
Well, I remember we talked about having a potential subcommittee.
yeah, and we talked about perhaps having somebody on the interview board.
Yes.
Can a board member legally
Yes,
be involved in the interview process for hiring? Because I thought they had to be totally separate. It was done by, it's very highly regulated, and
You
the
have
civil
a
service
committee.
approves their lists and it's ranked.
board member can set on,
What's that?
a board member can set on that if the board chooses to set up this committee.
Solely on an interview committee
It's
that,
not for hiring, but just for the interview.
well, an interview is for hiring. So how does that?
there's
Well,
20.
the chief ultimately hires.
You're not wrong because I've used board members in past processes before here, so it absolutely can in different ways. there.
I've been on it.
I know I did it one time here, but they asked me as a lieutenant with Portland and to wear a uniform and help with the interview, but I wasn't representing the board and I've only done it once, so.
It's just something that was discussed there, threw it out.
So, okay, and so let's move on to the last one there. The board shall conduct an annual interview of all personnel to obtain information on the pulse of the organization. This could be through small groups or individuals. So last year, when we did his annual review, Director Day, you brought in that paperwork from your organization, which I was gonna work on getting tweaked and I never got to, but then it was time for this year. Chief just set out the new one that we just got. Last year, with being able to meet with the people that I met with 4 volunteers, I met with 2 of the lieutenants. That was absolutely huge. Because if I was to go through and answer those questions, that's my perception. I'm not here every single day. But to get that feedback from those 4 volunteers and from those 2 lieutenants was absolutely huge. I came away in a much better positive feeling for what our organization was compared to looking through it now and the perception of it, because we're not here day to day. I would like to look at getting that one tweaked like we discussed, and then that's the one that we use every year. That would meet this last one here, and then also, I don't know how you feel about that, Chief.
Well, I think the climate survey is doing that for you, but on a.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's
Quarterly
true.
basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna see that every
Yep.
third or fourth month.
So, yeah, that's true.
And because you're gonna see
Yeah.
the results, the path results,
Yeah.
but what we have right now is real narrow because we just started.
yeah.
But as it goes, it's gonna grow, so
Yeah.
you're gonna be able to
Yeah.
measure that over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what that looks like,
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good point. So,
and that's something you'll keep seeing, it'll come down.
Maybe that's something we can include in this document.
Yeah, no, I'd say again, take this home, review it. This
Yeah.
is just things that we talked about the last 3 years. And I just threw them on a piece of paper here. Because like I say, we had no direction for the chief when he came in.
John, could you email it to me so I can just get it on my system and then email me? I've got your copy here, but email this to me
Okay.
just so that I have it, because I wanna like tweak it maybe a little bit
Yeah.
of like some, carry the momentum, but if you can, I can just retype it.
So don't laugh, everybody. But
What?
I use Microsoft Works. It worked well for me. I've used it for years, okay? There you go.
64-bit.
Oh, it's called.
That's all I do, right? Lisa.
all right, well, does anybody else have anything else to add?
And you too, Judy, put your input on it.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody else got anything to add? I think the strategic plan and the goal of the ISO would be huge for us, moving us forward. With other stuff that's already being done, Alto and whatnot, and really is coming together, so. Well, nobody has anything else to add. Our next regular board of directors meeting will be held on June 20th at 6 p.m. and we're adjourned.
So with that, did anybody have any other agenda items for next week?
Yeah,
Got
do we
that?
have, oh, yeah, I kind of fell down. today. The agenda items yesterday.
Everything I gave, gonna be back.
Yes, yeah, thank you.